Natalia, you have the floor. Good morning. Shall I turn on the mic or shall I use this microphone? Do you hear me all? Good morning. I'm happy to welcome all of you here today at the Moscow Urban Forum. We would like to announce a transaction the fund participates in. It is the Romanov Property Holdings fund I am managing. This year, quite recently, we concluded a transaction of purchasing 50% of ESSE in Russia, and thus we are 50% partners of ICE Germany. And now our fund is a 50% owner of the company, and it will develop the management of malls and trade in Moscow and the Russian regions. Why today? Why are the owners ready to provide their assets for management by third companies? What has changed on the market over the last 3 years? Let's look at the figures. Today, more than 4.5 million of square meters of trade and professional surface in Moscow are continuing to increase, and over the recent years, the yearly increase has been of 30%. Unfortunately, we have faced the economic crisis, and it led to a lot of openings on the market and a lot of vacancies on the market of around 8% of the assets. What shall we do in the current situation? Of course, the market is becoming more professional. The owners are trying to respond to the current economic environment, and the mall ceases to be just the place where people do their shopping. It is also a place where people spend their leisure time. And today we witness different situations on the market, and they place a huge responsibility on the owner. The owner should act in a more performant way. I think that in this environment we can learn from others and we can do things together in a different way on the market. A good example, 5 years ago, the services of asset operation were provided by the owners of malls and offices. The market has changed a great deal, and more than 50, even 60% of trade surfaces in terms of operation today are already operated by external companies. It seems to us, and perhaps it is not well to say that, but still, the crisis has benefited us because now it is a turning point to make the management an external and professional service. I would like to give the floor to Henry, who is a representative of ICE Germany. He will briefly introduce the company and provide some historical data.
Yes, hello, good morning also from my side, ladies and gentlemen. I prefer to speak in English. I hope that works for you. My name is Henry Kötter. I am the Chief Investment Officer of ECE and a member of the board of ECE Holding. We are a shopping center company for a long time already. We celebrate our 50th birthday. So as of 1965, we deal with shopping centers. And that includes everything that a life of a shopping center offers, from the development, the construction, the leasing out, the commercialization, as well as the property management. We do this for a wide area across Europe. We cover 16 markets, and we have to date approximately 200 shopping centers under management. Now, these 200 shopping centers, they account for approximately 28 billion euros of assets, and we speak about just round about 20,000 shops that we operate in these shopping centers. On a normal day in our shopping centers, we have approximately 4.4 million visitors. So every day, 4.5 million visitors run through our shopping centers, which is I think always quite an impressive number. After focusing on all these markets, Russia also has been an integral part of our company for quite some time. We are here for a long time. My colleague Stefan will explain you more about it. And at this point, we have decided that we needed a partner, and that growing together with a partner like Romanov Property Fund would be a great opportunity and create actually extra value for both of the JV partners. And we are very, very happy that we managed to find such a successful partner here in Russia.
Я сейчас передам слово.
I will now give the floor to Stefan. And just a couple of words about the fund. The fund has existed on the market for more than 10 years. We are focusing on trade and office sector. And for more than 3 years, we have been partners with ICE. Now we have become the co-owners of the company. But before ICE managed our malls, they include the Vremena Goda and Primhaus shopping centers. And now we act as owners, and on behalf of external managers, we have witnessed all the success in managing those assets. So Stefan, maybe you could say a couple of words about the company.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here and having even a sunny day. I don't know who has arranged it, but it's really perfect today. I also would prefer to speak English, so please stop me if I'm too quick. Also in this direction, where the translators are sitting, I know they have a hard job here. We have a birthday as well in Russia as ESSE, because the company is existing already 10 years in Russia. We started comparable carefully, checking the market in the beginning in 2005, and then developed for a big US-American REIT fund shopping centers in the Russian regions, in Yaroslavl and Tolyatti. And then, markets were changing here and there. We had to be adapted in 2009. The fund decided to leave the Russian market. So we changed our strategy towards a service-providing company, management services for third parties. Now, as already mentioned by Natalia, we are working as manager and leasing manager for the properties of the fund. For Vremena Goda, hopefully a lot of people know that property, and Dreamhouse on one hand, and we as well do the management for the property Aura in Yaroslavl since the opening. It was one of the projects we have developed. We did the initial leasing for the property and then managed this property since the opening in end of 2013. Besides this, we do as well for the same client some leasing services for the project Aura in Sokut. I'm very happy that we have succeeded to have a very strong team on site. We have in the meanwhile 85 people here in Russia, quite a long time with the company, and even in these, let's say, challenging environments, we managed to have high occupancy rates. Our shopping centers on average have an occupancy rate of higher than 96%. In Yaroslavl, we're very proud of that. We have managed to bring 30 new brands to the city. So if you go to the shopping mall, it's always the shops are there, the only ones in the whole city, so we're really proud of this. What we want to do in the future, we want to grow, of course. We would be very happy to take over more properties into our management. Usually we go for properties in the size of more than 20,000 square meters. If these properties have some challenges here and there, we're more than happy to do so. I think Natalia mentioned it already shortly. Yes, the environment is getting a bit more complicated, but come on, that's what we have in our house in ESSE. We have 50 years of experience. We understand the retailers, we understand the environment for shopping centers, and that we would like to share as well in the Russian market.
So we have the questions. Может быть,
Коллеги,
по-русски,
пожалуйста,
да?
задавайте вопросы.
Да.
Please, colleagues, feel free to ask questions. Alexei Prostushin, RBK. Mr. Zeisenmeyer, a trivial question perhaps, but please could you speak about the challenging political environment and what impact did it have on you? Do you experience some difficulties due to that? Or on the contrary, it is easier for you to work because there is no competitors?
So let me come back to your question. So it's not so much the political environment which is touching our business. It's much more currently The question of sanctions, for example. So of course you see if there are sanctions and you reduce the supply of products, the price of products are increasing, and retailers cannot just increase the prices endlessly. So what they see is a kind of fall of a margin. And the same applies for the changes of the exchange rate. We have seen it has tremendously changed, and as well this is a lot of tenants are buying goods in Europe, for example, paying that in euro. Of course, again, the margin of the retailer is going smaller. That's not a drama, that they have to get more professional. It's not only for the property managers to get more professional, but also the retailers have to get more professional to have to deal with lower margins and to work that out. Again, for us, not a surprise. In Germany, we have the situation with low margins for retailers anyway. This is in Russia, the margins will be much higher than in Western Europe. So we know how retailers are calculating. We know how they are dealing. And of course, we'll try to do our very best to support them there. So yes, it's more challenging, let's say, but it's not a drama. It's solvable.
If I can add something on this, maybe in a challenging market environment, I think it's more important to have quality services. So when you have a challenging setup, especially shopping centers, which if you compare it across different asset categories, from residential, office, retail, I think shopping centers are an asset category which is very management intensive. This means you constantly have to deal with 200, 300 tenants. You have to take into consideration a lot of aspects, marketing, management of the local staff and everything. So it's a rather complicated task. And I think as the times get tougher, the appreciation for the value that is created by good and sound property management is growing. So for us, this kind of environment, I think offers not only challenges, but especially some chances to do more business in the future, hopefully.
Добрый день.
Good morning. I have a question to Natalia Tischendorf. Let me introduce myself, Tatiana Lomakina, commercial real estate. How do you estimate the commercial property market in Russia and the real estate market in Russia? We know that it's not the easiest segment and not the most developed. Let me be brief. We've already told that about 4.5 million square meters of commercial areas are on sale in Moscow, which amounts to 110 and 120 shopping malls, not only in Moscow, but also in Moscow regions. It means that about 30,000 square meters of assets are on sale. So the market is really huge. And for professional managers, I mean for external managers, the main competitor on this market is still not the consulting companies, but the proprietors, the owners themselves. So what we would like to do now is to obtain that owners don't see competitors in us, but that they can value the benefits that we can bring to them, and then that we could join efforts to make their assets more valuable and to increase demand of these assets for both for tenants and for lessors. So the market is large. I'm not even mentioning St. Petersburg and other cities that we are looking closely upon as new opportunities, but even Moscow is sufficient to understand that every company should find a good place and a good opportunity to develop. Colleagues, do you have questions? Perhaps everybody is not well awake yet. Ekaterina Goracheva, commercial real estate. Natalia, how do you manage to overcome this lack of trust towards you? Because many companies before you didn't manage to do it, especially the companies of the so-called Big Five. First and foremost, it's no longer Big Five, but Big Three now. Stefan, would you like to comment? How do you do it? How you manage to do it? I will certainly join you, but if you can explain literally how you can do it, it would be perfect.
hopefully I have understood the question fully. No, also what is special in ECE, from my perspective, is not only the experience we have in the ESSE markets. Again, and Henry has just talked about it. We have 50 years in the market, developed in 16 subsidiaries. We are active, and there's always an exchange of know-how. The same applies here for Russia. We have our own academy. We are training the people on a constant way. We have currently people even sent to Germany for training that they become later on center managers in our properties. So I think what has changed a bit is that we try to bring more professional services on one hand. On the other hand, there is also a mindset change with the owners. A lot of owners have taken over this management by their own teams, and let's face it, it were comparably easy times. It was comparably easy to develop a shopping center, to open the shopping center, fill it with tenants. We both know that 10 years ago, leasing was a very nice job to do, right? And this is now getting more challenging. And tenants are asking and saying, like, why this location? Why should go to this shopping center? Why should I pay this rent? Why should this? So you have to be prepared and give all these questions. And the major thing what we do in our teams is really to think about, okay, what kind of assortments our target customer need, what kind of tenants we need for this. So it's not just filling spaces, it's just create really a clearly positioned shopping center, really targeting certain kind of customers, and then really calculate, okay, what kind of turn or what kind of margins tenants can have, what are, let's say, reasonable rents, for example. All these things in detail. I will not bore you now with more details. I'm afraid I can talk 1 hour about that. This is one side, and the other side is also in marketing. Yeah, when I remember the times 2005-06, there were no marketing in shopping centers, not at all. This is changing now because we have to fight. Competition is growing in Moscow. We have to offer additional services for our customers, and that's why we do a lot of marketing. We have in Germany something called like Future Lab, where we have creative ideas of new marketing tools, which we try in selected shopping centers, and if they're successful, we roll them out in the ECE world. Also, this will come to Russia, and this will help develop further. So I believe that owners understand it's getting more complex. So for more complex questions, you need more complex answers and solutions, and the ECE is prepared to share these solutions.
Just to add on that, I think when you have a professional owner who wants to manage his own shopping center, that's fine. But it is rather easy to explain that if you manage 200 shopping centers, there is a high likelihood that each and every problem that comes up, it has happened before in another place. And I think there are really big synergies if you operate such a large portfolio. Maybe a simple example is, there is no need to reinvent the hot water in 200 different cases, yeah, because it's been done. There are certain recipes that we've already made every mistake you can make in the business, but we try to make it only once. So we hope that all future generations of centers will benefit from this. And Synergies, we have explained in marketing, but I want to give you another example. With increasing competition and increasing expectations from customers, the market is getting more and more professional. It really helps if you have, like us, a network of strong professional players that work for ECE. We have 3,600 people. Alone in architecture and construction, we employ 350 people that do nothing but refurbish shopping centers, create new ideas, revitalize shopping centers, reposition shopping centers, just from an architectural viewpoint. So there is a lot of know-how in this company, which is hard to replicate if you are a single asset manager.
И, может быть, буквально последний нюанс, отвечая на ваш вопрос.
And maybe just the last detail in answering to your question, I think it's worth mentioning that both owners of our joint group are owners of shopping complexes, of shopping malls. So we not only manage them as ECE Germany does it, but we have a huge operating platform. And both in Russia and in Germany, we are owners of our shopping malls. That's why we are considering many issues not as just managers, but as owners. I think it's one of the key points that I would like to mention. Natalia, I have a question to you. Arrendator.ru. What are the sites that you are planning to buy? and which of them do you consider them as top priorities? As I've already said, the main focus of our fund is commercial property. This year we bought a big box retailer, OBI. So now our portfolio consists of over $1 billion of assets, and looking forward, we are planning to extend to look at real estate markets. So it's one of our top priority in Moscow, and we are also considering office assets, especially Class A office building in Moscow.
My name is Rustam Garif. I'll ask my question in English. It's to Henry and to Stefan. Obviously, 10 years ago, you've taken a very brave decision to come to Russia. And up to now, you are probably the only Western operator of the retail shopping centers present in Russia. After 10 years of experience of presence here, do you see there is more room now for the Western operators to come to Russia? And if so, do you expect them to come? Or if not, then why?
Retailers or operators? So if I'm just to...
No, operators for the shopping center. I mean, like, you know, the management.
Property managers.
Property managers,
Yes.
no? Yeah, yeah.
Like what you are.
Yeah, it's true what you're saying. It was at that time a decision that we made very early and probably earlier than others. Unfortunately, our competitors still don't share their expansion plans with us, which would make life a lot easier if they would, but they don't. For us, I mean, we come from a very competitive market. In Western Europe, there are many players that are chasing the same owners to provide services. So for us, a high competition environment is not a new thing. I cannot say whether or not others are seeing the same opportunities in this market like we see. But what I can say is, irrespective of this, the only chance to win is if you get your head down and do good work, because that's the only thing that we are rewarded for. And rather than focusing on what our competitors do, our main focus has been for the last 10 years, and I think will be for the next years, just to try and create value for the operators that we work for. And as Natalia said, I think one of the things that distinguishes us a little bit is that we operate as if we are the owner. And in some cases now in our JV constellation, we are. So I think that helps if you want to create a competitive edge over other players in the market, because we are not in the game to optimize fees. We are not a short-term business plan chaser. We have a lot of endurance, and we want to be in the market for a long time. I don't know if this answers your questions adequately, but as to the competition, that's all I can say regarding their strategy, I'm afraid.
Можно я еще один вопрос?
Can I also ask a question? I have a question in respect of non-standard filling of shopping malls. Like Stefan has said, it is not simply leasing, but some non-standard approaches and non-standard concepts. So my question is, what non-standard solutions do you believe in? We know that some companies seek non-standard retailers, probably not chain retailers. So whom you are planning to fill your shopping malls with? And this is a question to all the participants.
Come back shortly, maybe then Henry and Natalia can add something. So shopping centers, it's always a very individual business. So every location is different. Let's face it. So if you look in our portfolio, if you have Bremen Agoda or Aura in Yaroslav, they're completely different properties, completely different positioned, and with a completely different branch and tenant mix. So we go for very individual solutions. I personally do not believe that you just have one standard concept and you just roll it out in whole Russia. That will, from my perspective, not work. So what we have here as an advantage is we have access to the data of 20,000 tenants, which we are dealing with European-wide, and that helps us to derivate, okay, which kind of concepts fit to which kind of positioning of shopping center, and develop then really a very individual approach towards the shopping centers. So obviously, for example, Brim-Lagoda, we have a bit different branch and tenant mix than in other properties, and it's a very successful one. Property has developed very nicely, better Natalia says it as an owner, not me, but we're really proud what we have done there, and it's definitely not a standard solution what we have done there.
Мы всегда дискутируем.
We are always discussing what the percentage of success of a shopping center is, and how it depends on just filling it with the correct tenants. So we discuss it by 80–90%, but I believe that a huge share of success is it. And we have to have a chance to place correct tenants for the correct buyers of this shopping center. And we know what the market environment is. In 2014 was less successful, and a lot of concepts left the market. And this year shows net growth. We have 14–15% of new concepts entering the market, and I believe that we are expecting to raise this number even further in the near future.
Question correctly, you were asking specifically for the non-standard type of tenants, and I'm afraid there isn't a standard one-size-fits-all Coca-Cola recipe. There are individual solutions needed. The way that we go about is that we can look at other examples, and we have quite an interesting mix of non-standard tenants, from pop-up restaurants, medical centers, health clubs, co-working facilities, family entertainment centers, dental clinics, you name it. But it is not that we have an empty space and put a sign up and said, call us if you want to lease this. You need to take a different approach there. You really need to start by looking at the product and start with a product definition. And this requires an in-depth analysis of the catchment area to understand which are my core customer groups. What are the requirements of these groups? What are the alternatives for these groups? So that puts your competition map, makes it a lot wider. We are not only a place where you can buy fashion. This is too short-sighted. We are a place where we want people to spend time. This gives you a different competition map. We're not just shopping centers on that map. So when you start from this and you try to define which is your competitive edge, you start to come up with these ideas, and you look at and you speak to your customers, you speak to your non-customers, you make research, and on the basis of this you develop a plan which translates into an architectural path and into a retail strategy. And based on this retail strategy, you must approach these non-standard tenants, and you'll then find this person fits and this one doesn't. It's quite a task, but I think with a good sound analysis and a good plan, you can put it into action, and then sometimes you'll end up with interesting solutions, which are non-standard.
Коллеги, еще вопросы?
Colleagues, any more questions? It looks like everybody has asked their questions. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. And you can come up to the speakers and individually ask